Hey guys, Kevin Gain here. Got Dakotah Pend with me.
What's up? How's it going, guys?
We're here for In Touch with TLR, episode number 9. Today we're going to talk a little bit of preparation and with racing, and then we're just going to do a little Q&A with Dakotah Pend. We're here at Champaign, Illinois for the RC Fest, Horizon RC Fest, and the first round of the TLR Cup. We're super excited. I think it's going to be a really fun event. Dakotah, it's your first time here racing?
Yeah, I've been to the Horizon warehouse a few times, the offices, but never the track. So they got a video posted, and it looks like the layout's going to be a lot of fun. It's a great place, and they get a lot of spectators there for the Horizon Fest event in general. So it should be really good for the industry as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. And it's our first Nitro TLR Cup, which I'm excited about. And I think we're going to continue to keep doing those each year. We're going to keep a Nitro race or two in the TLR lineup, which is cool. So I want to talk this week about some preparation. We're here in Illinois, so it was a little difficult to do a kind of a tech tip. We wanted, since we had Dakotah here, I figured we would talk to Dakotah about some of the stuff that he does prepare for races. I think one of the big things that we always get is tire preparation. Breaking tires in, whether you grind tires prior to racing or whatnot. And if you guys got any questions for Dakotah on any of this, feel free to drop them in the comments here, and I'll go through the questions and stuff we got. So. Let's talk tire preparation first.
Okay.
I know you're very, it's something that I see you constantly focus on at races. Kind of give us your kind of perspective. Let's throw a race out there that, what would you say? What race could we throw in there that you could kind of give a good example off of? Maybe the OCRC Reedy race style track.
Okay.
Well, let's not call it the Reedy race because that one's kind of got a tire prep, but
okay, just OCRC style in general.
Yeah, let's go to an indoor clay track.
Yeah. So first thing I start out with is it clay tires or like a super soft tire? The majority of tracks nowadays, the inside tracks are all clay tires. They have some pretty good grip for the most part. So I start with what compound to work with. For me, with AKA, my go-to for tool drive buggy is always the cross links in the back and then the typos in the front. You have to have your personal preference for what tire you're most comfortable with. And for me, it's always start with that. If you can get some knowledge from people that go to that track, something like that. And another big thing is tire sauce. It's the same thing. Every track has its fad of like what tire sauce people like and what they use. Some of it is just who is there to influence you for tire sauce. Some of it is actually the track itself, and even just the different brands of tires. But I always have the main tire sauce I use. It's the C&M. Works really good for the AKA stuff.
Stinks.
I really like that stuff. So now that I know what tires I'm gonna start out with, I know what tire sauce I'm gonna start out with. After that comes. We got some noise going on back here. After that is where your tread pattern needs to be as far as height-wise, broken in. Do you want to run new tires? Do you want to run half broken in? Can you sand them in, or do you need to break them in on the track? For me, I always like a lower pin tire compared to what other people run. The AK stuff works really well when it's lower pin, and I think in general it just helps you get up to speed a little bit faster. As far as cost effective goes, it's not always the best thing to just take a brand new set of tires and sand them down all the way. But I would highly suggest at least getting the square edge off of it. That way it's a little bit rounder. It helps the braking process quite a bit. The tire definitely starts to wear once you get that edge off of it.
Gotcha. So how do you prepare for a race? So you're showing up. Mm-hmm. It's a 4-day race. You get practice on Thursday, qualifying Friday, Saturday, mains on Sunday. I know I watch you do this, which is pretty magical. A lot of guys I notice don't have the ability, the confidence in themselves to wait, kind of not really waste practice, but spin practice breaking tires in. Can you tell us about that? I mean, I know it's really important. I know in the longevity of it, it's kind of nerve wracking because you're not getting just the solid practice in. Every lap you're going out there and you're hitting the track and everything's perfect. But in the longevity of the event, I think it always works out well for you.
Yeah.
I mean, can you kind of give us a little bit of that? Like, because you'll run new tires almost every run in practice to get them all where you want them.
Yeah, so a good example of that would be Desert Classic this year.
Right.
I think I ran in, between my 2 and 4 it was about 6 sets of tires each that were new for 2-wheel and 4-wheel. We were running pretty close to slicks there. We just had a little bit of pin on the outer edge. But regardless, the track was really abrasive. So I came and I was confident in my car and the setup. Probably 3/4 of my runs I was on new tires, breaking in tires. And I spent very little time on the setup of my car just because I'm confident in my car. I have a very good base setup, and I can make little changes from there to adapt the car as I go. But I spent pretty much both of the practice days just breaking in tires. I would much rather break in tires and have too many than not have enough. Right. The worst thing is going into the last qualifier and saying, do I want to have a good set of tires for this qualifier to improve my position, or do I want to have a good last run in my mains? And then after that, the tires are going to be too bald or too wore out, and it's not going to go well. So I'm always overly cautious with having enough tires broken in.
Right.
And it just depends when you get there. You see what the track conditions are like. If you've been there before, you know how abrasive the track's going to be. But I always break in at least one extra set from what I think I'm going to run. And even if you don't end up running it, you save the other tires that are good. So as soon as my set of tires gets good and it's ready to go for racing, I don't run it anymore, no matter what. I start on a new set. Right. Break that set in. Once that set gets good, I go on to another set and start breaking that set in right away. So I'm never just sitting there running one set of tires over and over and over again, getting them good and then getting them past the sweet spot, just for the sake of track time. Right. You can figure out the track when you're on tires that don't have as much grip, and you'll be surprised how comfortable you get quickly once you have grip in the car. Yeah. But if you have bad tires going in qualifying, you're going to be slow no matter what you do.
Absolutely. I think it's a it's a confidence thing. I mean, you have to have trust in your own ability and trust to not worry about the clock or the lap times during practice. Because obviously you're not necessarily going to have the fastest lap time if you're breaking in tires, but you have to have a strong mentality to just kind of brush that off and not worry about those lap times, and make sure that you have the tools that you need to finish the race off. Because the only thing that really matters at the end of the day is come Sunday. And the only way you're going to succeed on Sunday is having everything you need tire-wise throughout. So I think that's one of Dakotah's strongest assets he has is that ability that he does during practice. I notice that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm always like, are you sure you want to run new tires? And he's like, yeah, I'm running new tires. I'm like, are you sure you want to run new tires? I'm like, all right, I trust you, man. Go for it. So it's always good. So tires are obviously a big part of it. Yep. What else do you do leading into a race to kind of prepare mentally, even product wise, just everything? What's your kind of game plan heading into a race weekend?
So I always like to have the whole week before. I want to have a plan ready for the whole week, what I'm going to do each day. Usually it's, if I'm running, 2-wheel, 4-wheel, and truck. Let's say I'm confident in my truck. I'll rebuild my truck on Monday or Tuesday. That way it's ready to go. And then, maybe I'll go to the track, and on Wednesday I'll run 4-wheel for the day. And, maybe find a couple things there setup wise. And then I'll take the day, part of Thursday I'll rebuild my 4-wheel, so that's ready to go. And then, I go to the track Friday and run my 2-wheel. And then I'll rebuild it Saturday. And I always like to have, if I'm flying out Tuesday, I always like to have everything done by Sunday night. So I have a day where I can just rest, I can recuperate, hang out at the house, do whatever I need to do, with the family and stuff, and not have to worry about packing last minute. The worst thing you can do is be stressed going up, to the night before going to a race. You're stressed out the whole day before. You're stressed out on the plane. You still got so much stuff to do to get ready. So the biggest thing for me has been I've been working really hard this last year to try and be ready, at least a day before. It gives your brain a break from running and getting tired. It just gives you a break, and so you can come into the race with 100% commitment and be ready to go.
Yeah.
So and that goes with tires as well. Sometimes you don't know exactly what you're going to run, so maybe you get one set of tires that are broken in. You can run those a little bit, just get a little bit of track time, figure out the layout, figure out what you want to do with tires. Maybe they're ones you ran at the last race or something, and it's not something you're going to run for qualifying, but you just get a couple runs on the track and figure out and get a game plan ready for your tires, and then go from there.
Very cool. Well, we got a couple questions we're going to jump into here because there's a few questions about tire stuff, so I want to jump into that. Tony has a question. He says, what type of prep for soft hole shot style type tires for medium grip outdoor tracks without traction compound?
Okay.
What would you do?
So the first thing is if you do need more grip, if you decide you need more grip, something you can always do that's quick and easy is you can soften the foam up. You can punch holes in the foam. That'll give you more grip as well. If you can't use a traction compound.
So how do you soften the foams up?
So I take a tire hole punch, and I'll take most tires have the two outer bigger ribs, and then they have the two inner ribs that are smaller. And I will punch holes on the two inner lines that are on the outside, and I'll punch it where it has the inner rib. Yeah, sorry, the inner rib. I'll punch it where it's on the inner rib, on the two on the two outside lines all the way around.
Gotcha.
And that'll soften the foam up. It will still leave the support on the side. That way, going into the corner, it's not giving out once the foam starts to break in, but it'll give you a little bit more support when you're accelerating.
Gotcha.
And you should be able to get a little more grip that way.
So that'll give you some more grip. But you wouldn't do anything with the tire pins, everything on that kind of a style outdoor track, you would just leave alone? You would just work with foams?
Yeah, I mean, usually for when you're running outside in 10 scale, sanding in the tires isn't as critical. If you're running like a BK bar style tire or something like that, you can definitely sand them in. But if you're running, you said like a hole shot
style,
yeah, I mean, I don't think you really ever need to sand those in for any reason.
Okay. Tony, I hope that helped your question. Let's see. Let's jump into a couple more questions here. So they're this way. Yeah. Does sauce kill foam after time? So our Jason asked if what the sauce does to the foam.
So it definitely depends a little bit on the sauce. Each one is a little bit different. Each one reacts differently with the tire and also with the foam. But in general, yes, it does. Some of them break down the foam really bad and very quickly, and others are not quite as aggressive. A lot of people use liquid wrench because it's not quite as aggressive. They use the blue liquid wrench. It softens the tire up a little bit, but it's not very aggressive, so the foam lasts a little bit longer. So something you have to be careful of if you are trying to get grip. When you're punching holes in the foam, the tire sauce is going to break down the foam even more, and you'll have a pretty dead foam really quickly. So I try and stay away from punching holes in the foam if I'm using tire sauce.
Gotcha. Matthew has a question here. I'll answer it. Matthew says, are we running the 10 millimeter hexes on the front of the 22.4 or the conventional 12 millimeter hex? Our car is currently coming with 12 millimeter hexes, so that's what we run, is a 12 mil hex. It doesn't really make a difference in performance. So if you have a bunch of wheels that are 10 millimeter hexes and you have a 10 millimeter hex front axle, you could definitely run that. It's not going to make any difference really.
You just wouldn't be able to shim it out because it won't be quite
right.
as long.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to use the shimming out part of the front axle that we use sometimes. So approximately how many cycles do you put on a race pack before replacing it? 100 cycles, every 6 months, yearly, question mark. I
mean, I don't really count the cycles. when I go to a race, I run the same battery the whole time. I don't switch back and forth. I mean, nowadays a lot of people just tape the battery in, but I, for the most part, always run the same battery for each individual race. And I mean, it honestly depends how much you run, but I mean, I can get 6 months out of mine, no problem. So, I'll go, I'll run the one at, all the big races for most of the year. Maybe I start with a new one for Reedy Race in January, and then, I'll have a new one in for Nationals halfway through the year. But that's not necessarily that there's something wrong with the other one. It's just kind of keeping them fresh and up to date. But,
Right.
those batteries that I retire from big races, I'll practice with no problem. I pretty much run them until you feel them fall off, until you feel the power start to fade or they get puffy. Especially with modified, it's not super important anymore. Just because if you need more power, you put a faster motor in, you gear it differently. You can add turbo and boost really easily. Obviously, for stock racing, it's a lot more important, and I think people go through those batteries quite a bit more.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of experience with stock.
Yeah, I mean, for stock, you want to make sure you're treating your batteries nicely because they're a very critical part of the whole package, with when it comes to power and stock racing. So you need to make sure you keep them in storage mode. You need to make sure you're cycling them. You need to make sure that you're treating them, nicely. Otherwise, you will see some issues with that. So
a big thing I've noticed is waiting to charge them after you run. If you go run for 10 minutes and then you come back and charge them when they're really hot, it seems to really they seem to puff up a lot quicker, and the life is definitely a lot less. So just giving them that 10 minutes to cool down will really help out a lot.
So Justin asks, before making any suspension changes, are tires the biggest factor? Running on a very loose, dry track.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you can have the best setup car in the world, but if you don't have good tires and they're not prepared the right way, you're going to be doing donuts, and you're not going to be able to go straight. I would say tires are the biggest initial part of the program, always, no matter what.
Right.
Especially indoor racing. On clay, it is so crucial to have a good program with tires and to know what you're doing and have confidence in your program, to know what tread pattern you like, what height you like, what tire sauce you're using. It is one of the most critical things in 10-skill racing.
Yeah, my motto is it's like 90% of the setup.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have good tires and not even know that your car isn't technically working as good as it should because the tires will band-aid it. So focus on tires. It's one of the biggest things. Even in 8-scale. I think in 8-scale it's still it's critical in a different way. It's critical to make sure you have the right tread pattern and the right compound, because if you have too soft of a compound, it could go around the track fine. It's just not going to go as fast.
I think for 8-scale you can get away with a lot more, but it's very deceiving as far as lap times go.
Right.
10-scale, it's a lot more critical to actually have everything correct so you can get around the track. But yeah, 8-scale, it can kind of catch up with you and catch you off guard.
You can be out there running great laps, feel great, and the next thing you know, you're a second off the clock, and it's literally, it might not even be a compound change. It could be just a tread pattern change between a low pin and a high pin. So 8-scale is a whole different thing, but it's still, tires are still 90% of the setup, always, and it's something you should always be thinking about. So our boy Nicholas here, can you walk people through your changing process for stock and mod and why, and your process for safety with regarding to lipos? Well, first of all, lipos should always be charged in a lipo sack. It's always highly recommended. Always make sure you have your lipos set on nickel metal. Make sure they're on the right cell.
Not nickel.
Or I'm sorry, not nickel metal.
That's not what you want to do.
Don't do what I tell you to do. Do what he tells you to do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Make sure you charge it on lipo, not nickel metal. And just like I said, making sure they cool down before you charge them again. Just give them like 10 minutes or something like that. For stock racing, it was definitely an eye-opener. Kevin has a little bit of experience with it, kind of doing it for fun. But yeah, stock nationals was a big eye-opener, and we had to kind of get on the bandwagon and figure out what we were doing real quick there.
Yeah.
But yeah, something we found is that the higher amperage you charge at, the faster it'll fall off in the race.
Yeah, which was interesting.
Yeah, so it's not all about just trying to charge at the 70 amps that some people are doing and stuff, because it is a little bit faster initially, but it falls off really quick. So maybe trying to find a happy balance there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we weren't doing anything too crazy. I mean, cables are really important, so you can see the IR ratings. That seems to make a really big difference. The quality of the battery. So we had a lot of success with the new Orion batteries. So everything went really well. They had awesome IR ratings, good power, and lasted the whole run. So
yeah, I think the batteries were really good. You just ran the new battery for 8 scale at Silver State.
Yeah, they're really good at 8 scale too.
I was really impressed with the battery for 8 scale as well. I like the bolt plugs.
Yep.
I thought that was a cool feature.
Yeah. I had to turn the power down quite a bit because it was so much faster.
Yeah, so. And it's a bigger milliamp. It's what, 7,200 milliamps? 7,200 milliamps. So you don't have to worry about not taking any practice laps before the qualifier starts.
I think I did 3 or 4 practice laps.
Yeah.
Changed tires, went back out there, ran some more before the 10-minute main. So
yeah, so the new Orion 8 scale battery is light years better than anything that we have at the moment. So I think that was all a big plus. Yep. Orion's making some big changes. I think they're making some big headway on some of the new products that they have coming out. So let me jump in. It kind of kicked me off of the watching what's going on here. So I get to the questions.
Should be able to click on the top of the post. We're having technical difficulties here. So
we're trying to get to the questions. Sorry, guys. Before making changes, for stuck racing guys want to charge them when they are warm. I've seen guys using heat pads. Jay, so when stock racing, it's not that you don't want to charge the battery when it's hot. You want the battery to cool down before you charge it, but the idea is to get the battery hot and warm before you go on the track. That's where you get the power, and that's where you get the consistency in the power over a long period of time. So it's not the charging the battery when it's hot, it's the getting the battery hot after it discharges and charges before hitting the track. You want to get the battery around 100 degrees, I would say, when you hit the track. You can get it hotter than that if you like, but most tracks don't like it. Most tracks want the batteries to be around 100 degrees. Like at the stock Nats, it was 100 degrees before it hit the track. Anything over that, you were in trouble. So that's what I suggest on that. How would you prep soft? Okay, we already went over that one. How often do you build a new kit? How often do you build a new kit?
I usually build, it depends on the vehicle. 10 scale wise, like for two-wheel drive, for example, the 22 4.0, I'll build a new one for every major race. So that would be every 2-3 months. And then that car, after I run the big race, that'll become my new test and practice car. And I just kind of keep cycling through like that. Yep. But I mean, as long as you're maintaining your car and you're putting parts on it as they start to wear out and just keeping up with the diff and the shocks and the drive shafts and all that, I mean, you should be able to run a whole season on a car.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not you don't have to have a new car.
Right.
At, every race you go to be competitive.
Yeah. So your diff is probably one of your most important parts, and then your shocks are probably your next most important part. Making sure those two pieces of the pie are functioning properly all the time, you're going to have a good handling car all the time. If you let those two go and not maintain your diff and your shocks, you're going to notice some handling issues on the track for sure.
I would say diff, shocks, and then bearings as well.
Diff, shocks, and bearings.
Like for shocks, for example, every race I go to, I come with shocks with no oil in them, and I'll build them at the track. And then depending on the length of the race, if it's a 4-day race, I'll run practice with them. If I have, if I'm not changing the oil or anything at all, I'll run practice with them, and then I'll build them just kind of fresh as far as oil goes for qualifying. just with all the temperature changes and, going to the hotel, sitting in the cold air, then back to the track if it's hot, going on a plane if you're traveling and all that stuff, it definitely makes a big difference. So, the X-Rings last for quite a bit. As long as they're free and they're smooth, don't worry about those. But changing the oil and keeping up on that is very important.
Yep. So Dallas asked, Dakotah, what tires do you bring to an unknown track? What's your go-to tire that you always just make sure you have with you?
Just for 10 scale or 8 scale?
Maybe for both.
I do both. For 10 scale, like I said, I always like the AKA crosslink rears in clay. 2-wheel drive, I like the Typo fronts. 4-wheel drive, I like the chain link fronts. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's what I run everywhere. That's clay. If you're not sure what it is, maybe bring some super softs and some softs just in case. But the majority of the tracks inside now are clay. As far as outdoor goes, I'm always a fan to start out on the AKA double downs. They're a very safe tire. They don't work really well in the dust. But if there's a little bit of groove or anything, those are always really easy to go out there and get a good feel for the track. So just having a little bit of everything, even just looking up the temperature outside, that can tell a big difference. If it's 95 degrees out, you're not going to want to go out there in super softs, no matter how dusty and loose the track is, because the tire's just going to immediately overheat.
Right.
So temperature for outdoor 8-scale races, temperature is something that can really help you out. If you can get a picture of the track, see if it looks like it grooves up or not, that's another big thing as well.
Yep. So Vinny's asking a question about how do I get more steering. Vinny, if you can let us know in the comments what vehicle you might be talking about, Dakotah will be more than welcome to help you out. We need just a little bit more details up from you. Let's see. Let's see. I know there's some more questions that I've been seeing come up. Does he use high voltage? So David's asking if Dakotah runs the HV or high voltage batteries. Dakotah?
I just run the new ones are
HV.
Yeah, the new ones are high voltage, but I'm just charging to regular volts.
So prior to the new batteries, all Dakotah had were
just
the standard 7.4.
Yeah.
But now that he has the new Orion batteries come as a high voltage battery, so he's using those. But obviously, it's illegal to charge them to the full 7.6 volts, so we're still charging to the standard voltage. But the batteries are very good. Come on and give some questions here. There we go. Eric, what is the purpose and the effect of the extra 1.0 hole in the piston? Example 1x2.6 and then da-da-da.
Yeah.
Why do you run the 1.0 hole extra? What does it do for you?
So in my 2-wheel drive, I always run the extra 1mm hole in the standard 2-hole 1.6 and 2-hole 1.7 pistons. So I run that standard piston, and then I just add an extra 1mm hole. It makes the car a little bit softer. It has more grip, and it seems to land a little bit better. So for me, it's kind of just all around just a little bit better. It is a little bit softer, so depending on the track conditions, you might have to go up in oil. But I think it lands better as well and has more grip. So for me, it's always a positive change.
Gotcha.
I know a lot of people like the 3-hole pistons, the 3-hole 1.4 and the 3-hole 1.5. I've tried them multiple times. I'm just not a fan of them. So I think that me adding the extra 1mm hole to the 2-hole stuff is kind of like somewhere in between, but not quite as aggressive.
Gotcha. So to be a little bit more precise on exactly like what it does, other than the feeling. So you have your standard, 3 or 2-hole piston. When you add that 1mm hole, it's such a small hole that when the shock speed is really slow, that hole is functioning. Oil is going through that 1mm hole at slow shock speed. So it makes everything around center or around ride height softer which will give the car more traction. It'll go through bumps better. And then what happens is when you have a really fast, high shock speed, that hole plugs itself, and oil can't go through such a small hole. So that's basically how that 1 millimeter hole is working. So at slow shock speed, that 1 millimeter hole is working, making the car softer. And then at high speed or a very quick shock movement, that hole will plug itself because it's so small, oil can't get through it, and it gets stiffer, and that's why it lands better. So it gives it more grip, and then it lands better because of those two reasons. So hopefully, Eric, we answered your question. So Matthew, as far as AKA tires on your 22 4.0 two-wheeler, AKA makes wheels with only a 10 millimeter hex in the TLR offset. Do you use a different wheel with your AKA tires?
Yeah, so I run the standard TLR 2.2 wheel in the front. I never run the stiff bezel. Some people do like them, some don't. Just makes them easier to drive and takes away steering. But I always run the TLR standard 2.2. And they make adapter bands to glue those tires to make it a 2.2 conversion. But I'm actually just taking the 2.4 tire and just gluing it straight to the 2.2 wheel. It stays just fine. I ran them most of last year like that, and I've been running them all this year. And I have not had any issues with it. You just have to be careful when you pull the tire back, because there's no bead. You can just pretty much put glue all the way through and glue the foam to the wheel. So as long as you're careful when you peel back the bead of the tire, that the bottom part of the tire is still touching the wheel. That way the glue doesn't bleed through, and that you just use a little bit of glue, not get crazy.
So we got SDRC says thanks Travis down there at SDRC Raceway. Really appreciate all the help that you do for us down there. Paulie says inserts for clay. Do you do anything special with your inserts for clay? You just run the standard red ones, right?
Yep. Yeah, I just run the standard red AK foam. Like I said, I normally don't like punching holes in the foam when you're running inside, just because of the tire sauce. It just breaks it down even faster. So what's nice is when you don't do that, is you can sand the tire and get the tire softer with tire sauce, and the foam won't break down quite as fast because it doesn't have the holes in it, and you haven't been running the tire for months trying to get it to break in. So I'm always a fan of sanding the tires into where they need to be. Then you can sauce the rubber, break the rubber in, and you're still going to have a good foam.
Gotcha. Joseph says, what do you think about 10-day worlds?
It's going to be a long time, but it's in a good place, so I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun there. And we get done. IFMAR has such a tight schedule that we get done early every day, so I'm sure we'll make the most of it. I don't necessarily want to have 5 days of practice and only run twice a day. I feel like we could run 4 or 5 times a day and just have 2 days of practice and be more than fine. And regardless, this is the World Championships. We don't need to run for an hour and a half before our first qualifier. So
I know.
I mean, this is for a World Championship, and we're all on our A game. So I feel like we could have 2 days of practice and have even if we only have the 2 10-minute practices each day. We could easily fit more, but if they want to run a schedule where we get done early enough, that's fine as well. And the challenge comes when people go to the warm-up and stuff. I know they've been talking about possibly changing the race because there kind of was a warm-up race. I'm not sure what they're going to do with that, but yeah, I'm not going to complain to be in Australia for 10 days, but it's definitely too long, I think, for a race. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think all these guys are professionals, and they're all good enough drivers at this point. You don't need that much practice. At the end of the day, the talent rises to the top. So I don't think we need it, but nothing we can do about it. Let's see. The extra hole in 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and SCD truck, right? So you're running the 1 hole in all your vehicles?
Depends on the track. 2-wheel I pretty much always do. Short course, I have not tried it. I think with short course there's enough body roll to begin with that you don't need need the extra hole in the shock to get to kind of move around even more.
Okay.
And then 4-wheel drive, if it's a lower grip to medium grip track where you're not worried about traction rolling, I run it. If we're running somewhere like Desert Classic where it's really high grip, I don't run it just to get a little bit more support in the shocks.
Got it. Sounds good. So somebody wants to know if KFC extra crispy or original recipe.
I think extra crispy.
Extra crispy.
Yeah.
How do you get more steering in your 22SR? So maybe that's something to talk about a little bit. You can throw out some of the new setup stuff that you're running on the front end, and you can find Dakotah's new setup sheet online for the stock mats. That's on there already, and that car has more steering for sure.
Yeah, so just a little bit of kind of what I did. I've been playing around with the shock location a lot in the front. I've been running outside in the front, which sounds pretty crazy, but the actual shock angle is the same as middle. It's just where the location is at. It's just moving the shock farther out. So for me, it just kind of made the steering a little bit smoother and more predictable. And then because of that, I'm running like 5-weight lighter shock oil. I'm running at least 1 spring rate, if not 2 spring rates, softer front spring, and I'm running the shortest front camber link you can get, and all this together with also adjusting the spindle height. I've been running my spindles either all the way up or up 3 millimeters, so that's 1 millimeter higher than middle. And with all of this, it kind of gives it really smooth steering, but I actually have more steering than what I did before on kind of like the standard setup in general. So I've really been liking it. I came up with it back home in Michigan. I've run it at 2 different tracks in Michigan, and then I also went to OCRC and ran it there, and it was very good there as well. So I think it's for me, it's going to be my new base setup. So.
Yeah, and you guys can find that on the Team Losi Racing website. You can find the new setup that he's been running. It is very good. It's different than what we've been running. So it's definitely worth researching it, finding it on the website, downloading it, and giving it a try because it kind of fixes those situations that you guys are talking about. Kevin is asking for your 8T 4.0 setup, what do you usually use in your diff and shocks for kind of an overall track package kind of setup?
Yep. Yeah, so like I said, if you guys have questions with SEP, I'll be happy to answer them. There is a lot of SEPs you can find online. If you're at a race and you want to try and find something real quick, you can. There's quite a few SEPs posted online. For shocks, I'm running 42.5 weight oil in the front, standard, and then 37 in the back. And then springs, we've kind of been all over the place.
On truck, yeah.
Yeah, we tried the new Evo springs at Silver State. I went back to what I normally run. I don't think the Evo springs are bad. We didn't have enough time to try and figure them out. We only had a couple practices. So
yeah. So Joseph asks again, do you focus more on 1/8 scale for when it's a world year, or still focus on 1/10 scale?
I think there's definitely more focus on 8 scale when it's 8 scale world's year, and then vice versa. The whole year with TLR and Horizon specifically is definitely focused on what class the world's is. But there's still nationals, there's still all the other big races we have for the other class. So there's always concentration on everything, but there's definitely a little bit more focus. And once we get through nationals, the focus is going to switch to 8 scale pretty much 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now it is a little bit back and forth just because we have all the nationals coming up. Nitro Nationals is the next one on the list, so I've been running a lot of nitro and preparing for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am always going back and forth, but
it's tough. It's definitely tough. Our mindset, right, is always what's the biggest race of the year for that year, what's coming up. But really, all the races are the same every year. We have, basically a tour that we do every year of the same races. So, not too much really changes each year depending upon, what's going on or what worlds it might be. But I think internally our mindsets gets going on whatever worlds is that year. This year it's 8 scale, so we're always thinking motors start turning in the office, the engineering team starts getting fired up, and their gears start getting turned, and we always start focusing on those vehicles for whatever worlds we have. I mean, we're here to win. So
yeah, and I would say, like I said, that like Kevin said, all the major races are the same. It's more of a behind the scenes. What is Horizon and TLR doing? For me, it's more local races, running more nitro races instead of 10 scale races locally. Going to the track more and focusing more on nitro than 10 scale. But as far as the major races go, it's pretty much the same races every year. So
yeah, did you cover the diff oils that you run in your truckie and shocks? What diff oils you run in your truck and what shock?
I did the shock oil.
Okay.
I don't think I did the diffs.
Yeah, what diff oil do you run in your truck?
Diff oils, we've been quite a little bit all over the place.
What do you like, 10?
10, I did at Silver State, I did 10, 12, 5.
10, 12, 5 for diff oils? That's
close
pretty
to what it was.
standard
Yeah.
setup. I mean, for our truck, 10, 12, 5 is pretty standard.
Yeah, sometimes we'll run 10 in the center, sometimes we'll run 15. But for the most part, it's pretty much around that area.
Oh, this is a good one for Dakotah. This is one thing he talks about quite a bit. So, how do you reduce side bite in the rear, in the center of a corner, when the car wants to traction roll?
That's a good one, yeah. There's a few ways to go about it. Something more recently we've been doing is we actually lay the rear shocks down more, so this car squats more, and it actually makes the car less tippy because you can feel as the suspension rolls, and you see and can feel when it reaches its limit, and it makes it a lot easier to stay on the track and not flip over. And so maybe you're, instead of running middle on the rear, where the car stays flatter and then all of a sudden it just flies off the track. When you're running inside on the shock tower, middle on the arm, you can see the whole car move down in suspension, and you can see when it's all the way down and it can't go any farther, and then you've reached your limit.
Yeah.
It's something we ran at Desert Classic, and it really helped out. Even though generally speaking, it gives the car more grip.
Yeah, it gives the car more grip, but you get more of the feel of the roll versus it just flying off the track. So SB Web, like I said, check out the new setup that we got going for the 22. It's a big change. It drives a lot different. That's really the setup is really geared towards your question exactly. So definitely SB Web, give the new setup a try. It will help. It's something that's something we've been working on since not this year's Desert Classic, but the year before Desert Classic. So we've been focusing on this kind of setup for, I hate to say it, but nearly a year now of trying to get this new thing kind of going. So I think giving that setup is going to help you out big time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it also sometimes comes from the front end being too twitchy and grabby. The front just grabs and just flips the car over. So with where the shocks are and everything I got going on the front, it makes the steering a lot smoother as well.
So Joe Law says, Dakotah, remember how much fun we had racing gas truck?
Yep.
I had a blast racing gas truck. I grew up racing gas truck. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. What ride height do you use for carpet on your two-wheel?
I don't run a lot on carpet, but I believe when we were testing, we were on like 17, 18 millimeters.
17 and 18, yeah. So right around 17, 18 millimeters is what we were doing with the carpet testing the last time we were out. What are your thoughts on rise of turf carpet tracks? Do you enjoy racing those types of surfaces?
It's definitely different. I'm not gonna lie. I much prefer dirt over carpet and AstroTurf. But it's something different. The industry goes through trends, and this is what's in now, and people as long as people are enjoying it, that's what it's all about. But yeah, it's just different. I grew up running dirt racing, and I like dirt racing. I don't mind running carpet and natural from time to time, but definitely a dirt guy at heart.
Let's see. Kevin, thanks. How about hot body springs on Truggy? Heard some TLR guys are using them with good success. Are Evo springs coming out for Truggy? Thanks, video is helpful.
Yeah, so in the past, pretty much everybody was running the hot body springs on there. We still do. Yeah, that's what we were kind of switching back and forth at Silver State, was the hot body springs and the Evo springs. I think the Evo springs have a lot of potential. Like I said, we just kind of threw them on for one of the practices, and it was good, but it made the truck a lot softer. And I definitely think it's something we're probably going to mess with this weekend a little bit if we have time. But yeah, we just ran out of time there, so I just switched back to the HB springs.
Yeah, exactly. What's the difference between handling characteristics with the 22.4 and the 22.4 2.0?
There's not really a lot geometry-wise. It's different. The main car itself, geometry-wise, is pretty much the same. You have the option to run gear diffs as well. Something that we've been running lately is gear diff in the front. With most people have been running between 30 to 40,000 diff oil, and then they've been running the ball diff in the back to kind of get more grip back in the car and just have it overall be a lot more consistent. And what the gear diff does in the front, instead of running ball diffs all the way around, is it helps kind of pull a car around the corner. It kind of feels similar to running like overdrive. But as far as like the geometry of the car, for the most part, it's pretty much the same. You can run the shocks in the front now. You have the shorty battery. If you didn't have the conversion on the 1.0, it makes it a lot easier to do that. But for the most part, the car is pretty much the same. Just some updates and hop-ups here and there.
JQ, we're bringing our A game, man. Don't worry about it. Trust me, we're bringing our A game. Talk about 1/10 holes in tires and tires where indoor versus outdoor. Oh, where do you poke the holes in your tires for indoor?
So I do it on the inside sidewall, just so tire sauce doesn't get in them and all the dirt stays out. When you punch them in the middle of the tire, when you're saucing the tires sauce goes in there and ruins the foams a lot quicker. So, also even with just washing tires, it helps keep the water out a little bit better.
No timeouts, JQ. Sorry, buddy. We're a team. We're all on the same page. Kevin, thanks guys. What paw body colored springs are you using on your 4.0 Truggy? I want to try this setup on my 4.0 this weekend. Do you remember which ones we were running?
Red.
Red in front and...
I've been running red in back. Some people run the orange in back, which I believe is one softer than the red.
So red and red or red and orange?
Yeah.
So yeah, red front, red orange, red or orange in the rear. It's up to you. I think most run the red, in the rear.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, red and red basically is what you would want to run on your Truggy. Have any good ideas? Oh, have you guys the 22 rear arms on the 22.4 2.0? If they did like it or not? Eric, yeah, Savoya tried that before the Reedy race. He tried the 22 arms on the 4-wheel drive, and we couldn't get it to work. We tried multiple times to get it to work. It did some things good, but then it was just, there were so many bad things that it did, we just couldn't get them all figured out in time. I don't think that's what we need. It made the car really soft, really dumpy, and he just basically did kind of donuts when he was out there driving it. So I don't think it's the way to go right now, for sure. But it doesn't mean you can't try it. You may like it yourself. But he is French. So we want to the 2.0 front spindles on the 4.0. How different is the prototype steering rack? It's hard to say. I can't really get into those kind of details with that. But we are, we're focused on some stuff to make some things better for the future, definitely. Yes. After PMB, looking forward videos. Thanks, David. Really appreciate it. Kevin, you guys heard red front, orange rear from some TLR guys. I'll try them. Thank you. No problem, Kevin. You got it. Okay, guys. I don't see really any more questions. We'll give you guys just a minute to answer any other questions you guys might have right now. This weekend is the... I'm super excited for the Horizon RC Fest. I've never been. I heard that there's like this big night show, all kinds of different stuff going on. The TLR Cup is here this weekend. On here, on Facebook and Instagram, on Team Losi Racing, I'm going to be giving a broad picture of the entire RC Fest right here all weekend long. It's not going to just be the TLR Cup. I'm going to be going live. I'm going to be doing videos, and I'm going to be showing photos of just kind of the whole picture of the whole experience here at the Horizon RC Fest. So stay tuned to that. Be prepared. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be some really exciting stuff going on this weekend. So pay close attention and all that good stuff. So we're going to answer a few more questions here, guys, and then we're kind of skip out. We have to go have a dinner meeting. JQ wants to know if you ever ran the VRP pistons.
I've tried them in the past. The ones, I don't remember what version they were. I think they were the Game Changers, but I have not run them recently. So,
good luck this weekend. Thanks, guys. Thoughts on the EBIS break-in method?
I don't have any experience with it, so
Yeah.
I can't speak from any personal experience.
I'm not sure how it really functions and works. I think I saw a little video on it. I wasn't overly excited about it. It's just breaking in an engine. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, JQ, we haven't messed around with the VRP stuff. Maybe in the future we will if we get around to it, but unfortunately we haven't had much time to test it. Are you guys running arm stiffeners? If so, have you tried running just the rear stiffeners? Colton.
Yeah, we've been messing with that a little bit. We went back and forth. I ran arm stiffeners all the way around for pretty much the end of last year to part of this year up until PMB, and then I kind of started messing around and changing back and forth with that, and I ended up with arm stiffeners. Did I run them just in the front or just in the rear?
We've ran both. We've ran both ways, but you liked them just in the rear.
Yep.
Yeah. So, JQ's got a good question. The RCGP. I'm excited to see how it's going to be, dude. To be honest. I don't know a whole lot about it. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it. I've seen a few things here and there. I've been pretty busy myself with traveling to races, but I'm very curious to see how it is. I'm kind of excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm really curious to see how it's all going to go down, dude. To be honest.
Yeah, it'll be definitely be cool to see how it turns out, and if they can get the support of all the manufacturers and stuff. I think that's going to be the big thing. It's just getting the support from everybody and getting everybody on board with it. So.
Yeah, there's an email in my inbox right now from somebody with the art asking for sponsorship for it. I haven't had a minute or two to look at it yet. I've been traveling, but JQ, I'm curious to see it for sure. Definitely. What hole pistons and truggy you like? What Pico pipe on truggy you like the most?
So I've just been running just the standard pistons on truggy. We've messed with that a little bit, kind of gone back and forth. over the last probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I've just been running the standard pistons the last year, and I've been really happy with that. And then for the Pico pipes, I've been kind of a little bit all over the place. It's been a learning curve for me, just kind of figuring out. They have so many options, but I've been liking the 21. I think it's the 2133 or 2103 pipe. It's been really good. It has a smooth power band. I've been running it on both buggy and truggy, and been really happy with them. Engines have been running great. They're super easy to tune, and they idle awesome, get good fuel mileage. Been really happy so far this year.
Cool. Last question, right here. Last question. What's your all-time favorite class to drive?
I would say tool drive buggy. I used to hate it, but I've learned over the years, just how precise you have to be, and kind of just finesse it around the track. And I really enjoy it now. Just trying to be precise, maximize all your lines. It's definitely not an easy class. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed the challenge of it.
Very cool. Guys, I hope you appreciate having Dakotah on today, getting a little Q&A in. Thank you guys for everything you guys have been doing for us. That's it. That's a wrap for today. No more questions. Stay tuned right here. RC Fest all weekend long. It's going to be the whole experience. There's night flying. There's all kinds of stuff going on. If we have some time at night, we'll go through. If you guys have any more questions or anybody watch the video later has some questions, we'll kind of go through and answer some of those questions at night for a day or two. But thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Later.
Thank you.